Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today I am seriously considering and thinking about moving on. Not from this YouTube channel and not from life or anything like that, but considering the phenomenon rather of moving on and how I am more comfortable and happy than ever to drop things that I don't like. Or aspects of things that I love that I disagree with. Now you may notice just over my shoulder, rather ominously, we have a copy of the visual dictionary for Star Wars The Last Jedi, and I'll come to Star Wars and that movie in particular in a moment. But I think this this permission that I've given myself started really with music years ago. I remember as a teenager in high school, there were one or two bands that I just listened to all the time. I had all their albums and they were my bands. And I know that at that point in your life, that's how you live. You kind of live focused and you listen to the same music over and over again. Repetition is very pleasing to your brain when you are in that sort of teenage, early 20s time in life. And so I don't regret any of that, but I do remember that there was a time when, for example, Radiohead, one of my favourite bands, still one of my favourite bands, but then, you know, one of the bands that I liked, Radiohead started putting out music that I didn't like, or that I thought was far too pretentious even for Radiohead. And I felt really uncomfortable, because it was all or nothing. You like them or you don't, surely. But, you know, as the 2000s progressed, I became more and more comfortable with the notion of actually picking and choosing the things that you like from the people that you like. You don't have to like the whole album, although often albums are beautiful musical journeys. You know, Songs for the Deaf, for example, is an incredible journey, an album that has to be listened to really as an album. But that doesn't mean that I have to like every single Queen of the Stone Age song. And with MP3s and the ability to create playlists much more easily, and frankly the cost of access to music coming down, not having to buy a whole album to get that track, you can just buy it for 59p or something, or even, you know, stream it from friends. It became much more possible to craft and create a fandom that was much more nuanced. And now I have, you know, thousands of songs from hundreds and hundreds of different bands and orchestras and music groups and singers, songwriters in my library that really encompass my passion for music, and that felt quite natural, quite normal, quite proper. But for some reason, it didn't really touch any other part of my life. I still have all of the DVDs in a TV series, even when the latter series is a bit crappy. I still have all the books in a series, even when I don't like a certain volume or two. I even have Batman and Robin, the movie, just for the sake of completeness. And this tendency has only really been challenged in recent years with two franchises in particular, which really just started to bother me and started to challenge that tendency to have it all or nothing. The first one was The Walking Dead. Now, I've made a video previously, one of my first videos I think on this channel was praising The Walking Dead comics from Robert Kirkman, and also the TV series, and how the two of them, the relationship between the two was complicated. You could enjoy the TV series and the comics for what they were. And crucially, I found the exploration of zombies in the real world very interesting. Now, I've also made a video not that long ago now about Z Nation, and how actually Z Nation superseded The Walking Dead for me, partly due to an inability to see the latest Walking Dead episodes. Although now actually we do actually have Amazon Prime, so I can watch them if I want to. But also, if I'm honest, I really struggled to get over the brutalisation of Glenn when he had his head caved in by Negan, But also then the lack of breathing space for these characters who I just want to see survive and thrive for a little bit of time. So you'll see also on the shelves behind me, I have all the Walking Dead volumes up until volume 25. Volumes 20 to 25 are upstairs actually, by my bed. But I've only read up to volume 23, and I've just made a note here. Volume 23 is Whispers into Screams. Volume 23 follows volume 22 when they promised a new beginning, a next generation, as it were, of characters in the Walking Dead story. And that was interesting, it was exciting, it was a breath of fresh air. But then at the end of Whispers into Screams, and actually throughout that volume, we see Negan's influence starting to creep back into the story, and I know enough about where the story goes in subsequent volumes to know that that's not good. But also at the end of that volume, we see Carl, you know, the son of our protagonist, running off into the wilderness, following a girl that he's clearly fallen in love with, and we're about to see war break out amongst these people again, these survivors. And that's less and less realistic for me. These ideas of the Whisperer War and some of the more crazy things that start to happen once they reach Alexandria, and then they have the hilltop and so on and so forth. It starts to just feel like it's just gone off on a crazy tangent. But it was all or nothing, surely, wasn't it? I either have it all or I don't. But actually, Walking Dead was the first thing, in terms of the stuff that I'm a fan of, or that I identify as being a fan of, that I really just walked away from. And I think lots of people are doing, or have done similar, certainly with the Walking Dead TV series. Well, for different reasons. For example, they felt a bit betrayed as to how they handled Glenn's death, and also who else may or may not die in that same event. But broadly speaking, for the same reasons, in so much as it's just gone really dour, really bizarre, and it's no longer really what we fell in love with. And after I did that, after I allowed myself not to get volume 26, volume 27, I think we're up to volume 30 now, I sort of felt freer to actually decide whether or not I went back to The Walking Dead, and free actually to evaluate what it means to be a fan. I'm still a fan of those volumes up on the shelf. I'm still a fan of The Walking Dead, broadly speaking. I'm definitely a fan of Fear the Walking Dead. I started watching that when we did get the Amazon Prime connection or account. And Fear the Walking Dead is very interesting. I'm really enjoying that. So actually, I'm still a Walking Dead fan. I just don't have to like everything. Flash forward to ominously, we have Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and that was a film I was very much looking forward to, like every single Star Wars fan out there. After a safe film in the shape of The Force Awakens, retreading the steps of the original movie, we have an opportunity to go a bit off the rails, and that's more or less what we wanted. We wanted a Star Wars film to step out bold in this new trilogy and be different. And this film was different. It had beautiful cinematography, it had interesting things to say about good and evil and the dogma of the Jedi, and also of the Sith in that respect. And it also made some interesting, if slightly heavy-handed, statements about the nature of warfare and politics and you know, who benefits from war and so on and so forth. I didn't mind any of that stuff, but what did frustrate me, and frankly what sort of hurt me as a fan, was the lack of respect that the film had for the questions that were set up in the previous movie. In particular, who is Snoke? I know the film was trying to say, the Emperor isn't important, he never was, this is all about, you know, in the original trilogy it was all about Luke and Darth Vader, and in our trilogy it's all about Rey and Kylo. I appreciate that, I understand, but please just tell me what was going on there. It felt actually kind of clumsy and closer to being a slap in the face, closer to being a literal delivery of, you know, in the real world, of Kylo's philosophy of, you know, let the past go, kill it if you have to, than was really required. Rian Johnson could have transformed the direction of Star Wars without actually just snapping some bones, you know? And so I you know, having recently walked away from The Walking Dead, I thought maybe this is the time. Maybe this is the time for me to walk away from Star Wars. And I did for you know, for a while. I say a while, for a couple of months. I kind of did. I just went, oh, maybe I just don't like Star Wars anymore. Maybe Star Wars isn't for me. But again, it doesn't have to be all or nothing, you know. And bit by bit, I came back to realizing that I can still love all the Star Wars films. I can still appreciate The Last Jedi even for what it achieves, where it achieves it. It's not that teenage obsession anymore. It doesn't have to be. It can be more nuanced than that. And in particular, in the context of some of the good stuff that they've done in series like Clone Wars and Rebels, tying in and asking these very interesting questions about good and evil. For example, with the character of the Bendu in the Rebels series, in a bigger way, allowing the question to breathe instead of just ramming it down your throat and saying you don't need to know about Snoke. Instead, in Rebels, what they do is they say maybe there's more to the Force than the Jedi and the Sith, and we're going to show you this over the course of 2 or 3 series of a brilliant TV show. I sort of realised that actually it's okay. It's okay. I can be a fan of Star Wars and not like The Last Jedi, or rather have problems, some problems with The Last Jedi. It's okay. And so I kind of did move on, but I moved on to a safe distance, to a distance from which I can engage with my love of that franchise and that story and those characters, and not necessarily feel burned by every new thing or every new mistake potentially that comes out of it. And I don't know. I've just been thinking about it, and I've been thinking about how long it took me to get to this point in my life where I can have this nuanced relationship with my passions. But also, I wonder how many people out there would really benefit from doing similar, from being able to step back and say, actually, it's just a film. Or indeed with the comics, you know, with The Walking Dead. These artists are not psychic. They don't know what you want, and frankly, it's their story. They can tell the story that they want to. You're allowed to get off the bus, and then you're allowed to get back on again if you want. It's been interesting, and I just thought I'd just talk about it, record my thoughts here, and share them with you guys, because it's also hard to explain just how incredibly strongly I felt that wasn't possible, you know, especially in my early mid-20s. It was, you know, death or glory. Star Wars, it's all of Star Wars or it's none of it, as opposed to just enjoying bits. And actually, I now can really appreciate how some of my friends are able to, for example, just enjoy Knights of the Old Republic. And for them, Star Wars lives 5,000 years before the Battle of Yavin. That's Star Wars for them. And they just let the modern stuff happen, you know, elsewhere. And eventually they will eventually dip into The Last Jedi, but who cares? I'm more interested in what Darth Bane is doing, that kind of thing. You know, so I also appreciate that as well a little bit more. Anyway, I'm rambling now. I'm gonna finish this video. If you have any thoughts or comments, please do comment below. If you've had a similar kind of journey with your passions, I'd love to hear about it. And yeah, and I love the fact, I do appreciate the fact that it's not all or nothing. I like that I get to keep my Star Wars fan card. As ever, guys, until next time, do take care. Bye bye.